Hey folks, this is Matt once again, and coming at you with a surprise review. And I say surprise because I was not expecting to review this month, because I have a lot of stuff planned that I hope to get to. But one person mentioned, "Hey, will you ever review this film called Ticks?" And I thought I had reviewed it, but I looked on my channel and I had not. My friend Mike OCP reviewed it, but I never reviewed it. And I thought, yeah, I can talk about it. Ticks. A fun, good, solid, short, fast paced creature feature flick from 1993. This is definitely a good one. It's got great special effects by KMB of these ticks that have been fucked with on sort of the steroid that these marijuana users are using to make their plants grow, but it's got with the ticks, and they're growing much bigger and all done practically. I think they're a lot of fun. You have a giant tit thing and a great gory transformation where they come out of a person's body and like the person's head splits open and the claws coming out of the knees and palms and there's chunks of flesh, all done practically, which they don't do anymore, which is a shame. It's a lot of fun. It's gooey, gory special effects. It's pretty well directed by Tony Randall. This is a guy who did Hellbound, Hellraiser 2, which is actually my favorite of the Hellraiser films. I talked about that when I reviewed all of the Hellraiser films. I reviewed from part 1 all the way down to Hellraiser Revelations. For those interested, they're still on my channel. I believe I also made a playlist of all of my Hellraiser movie reviews. Again, for those interested, I did review all of them. And during that, I did say Hellraiser 2 is my favorite. So yeah, Tony Randall directed that. Went on to do this. Also, the cast is interesting because it stars Seth Green right here. He is a 17-year-old kid, 16, 17 years old, wears glasses. He's agoraphobic. So when he's not sure if he's in a safe situation, he kind of has a panic attack. He's our lead of the film, and Seth Green does a good job. I like Seth Green. I liked him in a film called Idle Hands. I love the show he does, Robot Chicken. Now he's the voice of Leonardo in the new Ninja Turtles cartoon, which I don't think he fits that, but I don't mind Seth Green. He was in Stephen King's It. But yeah, I think he does a good job here. Also, this guy over here is Peter Scolari. Peter Scolari. If you don't know who that is, there was a TV show called Bosom Buddies. One guy was Tom Hanks. He was the other guy, Peter Scolari. You also have Clint Howard and Alfonso Ribeiro. If you don't know who Alfonso is, he's Carlton from The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, who did that dance thing. He's in this as a guy nicknamed Panic, who's a tough guy from the streets, who might not be as all that bad, but he's pretty much a tough guy, kind of the asshole of the film. And if you're wondering, the DVD's made by it was released by Olive Films, and there's a fun commentary with Tony Randall and Clint Howard. It's a fun commentary track. And actually, Clint Howard's character was not in the film originally. The film was done, and then they went back for additional photography, and they added a lot more impact, goo, gore, and as well as Clint Howard's entire character was added for additional photography, which was fun because you got to see more special effects and more goo and gore. And this movie goes at a quick pace, not boring at all. Well, here's the plot here. A group of teens who have a bit of problem. Like I said, Seth Green's character is agoraphobic. Alfonso, he's pretty much a dick who's on the streets, and a group of others. They're in LA. They go on an inner city wilderness project in an attempt to get back in touch with life's priorities. Led by do-gooders Holly and Charles, Rosalind Allen, and Peter Scolari. The two of them lead these kids into the woods. There's some local marijuana growers using herbal steroids to accelerate plant growth, and the mutated tits that the leaky steroid system has created. And these ticks, they can also, when they bite you, sometimes give you hallucinations, which leads to some interesting stuff. You have these two guys who are marijuana growers, and they're sort of the human villains of the flick that fuck with the lead characters in the third act of the film. And I thought the cast does fine. I really liked Seth Green in the film. He's not annoying at all. He's definitely not playing any character. I would say this is a different kind of character he plays. He's much more of a quiet. Like in a lot of Seth Green roles in movies, he's much more of a comic relief or wisecracker, or I'm thinking stuff like Idle Hands, or even in some of the Austin Power films. Here, much more of a quiet guy. And I thought he worked well in that role. It's just weird seeing Carlton from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air try to be a tough guy. I don't buy it. I don't buy him as a tough guy. Giving this ball to Seth Green. Shoot the ball. Shoot the ball. Or I'll let my dog, bite you. So I don't really buy him, but it was just fun. He's like fucking Carlton from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Clint Howard, like I said, his scenes were shot after additional photography, and you get some gory. He finds a hamster dead in his cage, and he's like, "You're all messed up." And Tit scares him, and he gets his leg trapped in a bear trap. And these eggs fall from the ceiling, one onto Clint Howard's face, and his reaction is just fun. He's like, kind of like this, sort of that look, and egg falls right on his face. And later on, he's trying to get, and they're in his leg, and he's actually gets it done. He's shooting his fucking leg to try to get the tick out. And then later on, another person gets in there, and he grabs the girl. He's like, "I'm infested," and his cheek explodes, and the tick goes onto the girl's neck. That's pretty much Clint Howard's role, but it's still a fun bit role. Yeah, pretty much throughout the flick, they try to deal with nature, slowly realize about these eggs, these ticks. Again, really good makeup effects by TMB. Not many films like that think of the deal with ticks, and ticks are assholes because they get on you. If you try to rip them out, their head could still be there and bury under your skin. So you have to, light them on fire. They get them off you. Ticks. So I thought that was a nice choice for a creature feature villain. And again, Nami, I can't think of another movie that deals with ticks. And considering how much of assholes they are, and I mean, you look at Sci-Fi Channel, all the movies they do, because you have quite a few with spiders. You have two Mosquito movies, a good one with Gunnar Hansen, and a shitty one called Steeder. But yeah, not too many with ticks. Just because, hey, you do it good enough, you don't have to do it anymore. And throughout, there's some really good special effects. There's a scene where Panic's dog, Alfonso's dog, Carlton's dog, gets attacked. And when the dog's like wiggling, it looks real. It looks like a real dog, and it's wiggling as if something's inside it. And Seth Green and Peter Scolari take the dog to the vet, and that's where you get this scene where she finds this thing here. And like she's testing, and it's like there's no blood in the dog. Then she's trying to get some blood out, and the plunger's getting pushed back in or pulled back in. And then you have a fun little chase scene trying to get this tick. At one point, gets on Seth Green's face, and they get it off him. It's just a shame that you don't see effects like these anymore. That's definitely something they mention on the commentary, and it's true. And by this point, Alfonso Carlton, I'm just going to call him Carlton. Carlton. He walks off, wants to go home, and by this point, he's gotten a tick on his leg, and stupidly, he rips it so the head is still embedded in his leg. Some nice goopy gore effects. When he ripped it off and looking at it, the head's been ripped off, so you get some nice blood pumping. And then you look at his leg, you get some nice skin flap where the hole's at and the head's buried in. And like I said, the effects are really fun to watch in this flick. But I like it because it went at a fast pace. It was never boring. There's always something happening. Clint Howard's role was fun. Seth Green did a good job playing a more quiet role. Peter Scolari was pretty decent. And it was just fun to see Carlton as like different. Because I remember watching Fresh Prince of Bel Air. So it was just nice seeing him play someone completely different from Carlton. It was just weird, but interesting weird. Not bad weird. And pretty much more of the group find out about it, and it pretty much leads to the third act. Before that, Carlton goes upon those two assholes who beat the shit out of him, but then he beats them up and stabs one, and he gets shot in the side, and he stupidly takes a bunch of steroids, I guess, to try to get himself back to the cabin. Gets there, they let him in. He tells the group that those two assholes shot him, and these two assholes hold him at gunpoint. One of the two assholes goes out to get the truck, and that's what I'm talking about. Before, some of the hallucination things are interesting. For example, one of the assholes who had killed the sheriff beforehand sees a hallucination of the sheriff, which is actually Ron and Clint Howard's dad, saying, "You killed me, you murderer, murderer," shooting at the guy, and the guy freaks out, drives the truck right into the cabin, and all these ticks come in. They got to deal with all these little ticks, burning them. When you burn them, they explode, which is fun. Some nice goopy effects of that. And then I'm guessing because that head was still in Carlton's leg, and he took all those steroids that did something, and now by this point Carlton's dead, and his body's flopping, flops on the wall, sliding on the ground, and just a beautiful gory transformation where the head rips open, claws coming out of the palms, coming out of the knees, rips open, just this gigantic fucking tick monster. Really cool to watch. Great stuff. The group of people get up to the top, have to escape. Seth swings to get to the van, gets a little broom with fire, burning a bunch of ticks, making them blow up, being the hero of the film, getting the other characters while he's popping ticks like zits. And there's one guy who's being attacked by the big bug, and Seth saves the guy, puts the fire right into the big tick's mouth. They escape, the big tick blows up. Then there's a gas tank, and by this time there's a big fire, and the whole place blows up, and they get off the safety, and then it ends on a sequel bait ending where the van's been pretty much abandoned at one somewhere in a junkyard, and one of the eggs falls down. No sequel. I don't know if they wanted to do a sequel or not. Um, do I have problems with the film? Not too many. One, you didn't need a. Not every fucking movie needs a sequel bait ending. I mean, that's a little thing, but I'm just saying, not every one of these fucking movies needs a sequel bait ending. You don't. Sometimes it could just end. Sometimes it could just be over. It's not always needed. Other than that, not much of a body count if you think about it, because it's Carlton, the two assholes, which I would like to have seen the other asshole, sort of the guy who's sort of the main asshole, really did come up from the giant tick. Like the giant tick's on his back, ready to grab his head. But I think it would have been fun if it like took his head and bit his head off, or we see his head get ripped off, or we see half of his head get ripped off like this, like that. I think about like, God, I know there's a movie that did that where the bud went like this and it took that part of the head off. I remember seeing that. Fuck, it might have been Blue Monkey or something other like another low budget film. I know I've seen that before. But the reason I say that is because like a lot of the kids that go into the woods, a lot of them make it out. Not only Seth Green and Peter Scolari and his sort of girlfriend, Rosalind Allen, but then the Peter Scolari's daughter. There's an Asian woman who's a quiet girl. You have two other people who are just horny. That's really their character. They're horny, and like all these people live. I'm like, I think too many people lived. Let's have a few more gore bits, or let's have the main asshole who previously had shot Carlton, which is why he pretty much died, really get a gruesome comeuppance, get his head torn off, or get his eyes plucked out, or get half his head torn off. And like a little bit more of a body count. I think that would have been appreciated. That, and no need to the sequel bait ending. Uh, Other than that, I mean, the rest of the cast are not much. I like Seth Green. Carlton was weird but fun to watch. Clint Howard was fun. Peter Scolari did fine. The rest of the cast were there. Take them or leave them. But yeah, I like this film. It has great special effects by KMB. It's an hour and 20 some minutes. Like with credits, it's an hour and 25 minutes. So it goes at a quick pace. Really good practical special effects. Yeah, I do think Seth Green does a good job as the lead. Some nice gore and monsters for these ticks. If you don't like Carlton from The Fresh Prince, you'll have fun with it because he gets beaten up, he gets shot in the side, he comes back to die, and then he gets torn apart, his head gets ripped in half because this big tick comes out of his body. So I'm like, yeah, again, if you don't like Carlton from Fresh Prince of Bel Air, then this is the movie for you. The music, I honestly don't remember the score. For good or bad, Christopher L. Stone. Brian Yuzna, executive produced this. This is a guy who directed Society and helped work on Reanimator and such. Overall, a fun creature feature flick. You know, it's a good 90s creature feature flick that nobody really talks about, but it's I did not grow up with this film. I found this film much later in life. Honestly, the first time I saw it was only a couple years ago. I grew up with Mosquito, which I reviewed on this channel. I love that. The one with Gunnar Hansen and the giant mosquitoes. I grew up with that film. And I grew up with, I'm trying to think of other creature feature, like a bug type. Arachnophobia I grew up with. I reviewed that a few weeks ago. But did not grow up with ticks. But when I saw it, I'm like, this is a good one. It's not bugs, but another one that's very unknown is, and I reviewed, is Aberration. A It's from 1997. A guy named Tim Boxall made it. Aberration That's a pretty good one too. It seems like an 80s movie, but it was made in 97. The creatures don't look great. It's like these little lizard type things, but there's some fun gore, group performances, and for a film no one knows, that's another good one too. You find some gems in the bunch, and I would call this a gem. It's a good movie. So, thanks for watching. Take care, and we'll see you later. Bye bye.